It's time. It's time to assemble this soutache, these pattern pieces, and this fabric into an actual jacket. Hello, it's Icy. That's right, it's time to bring all of the pieces together and hopefully turn it into something that looks legit. Well, at least good. Actually, no, I'm not looking for average, I'm looking for good out of this. I don't know if saying that out loud makes it even harder to sew this thing together and to put it, but I'm looking for great out of this lot. So, previously in this series, assembled the pattern pieces and the pattern. Hopefully it fits. We're about to find out. And did all of this soutache, which, look, just this on its own, I'm so happy with. I think this is good. So we have fabric, lining probably, and the black gabardine that we're going to make the rest of this out of. And it's time. It's time. Okay, so let's talk process. So I have the pattern. Now, nominally the pattern should fit, but you know, we don't know. Did I do a true mock-up of the pattern after I worked it out? No, I did not. Was that dumb? We're gonna find out. So, first step, ironing, actually, because the black has been sitting in a box for quite a while, a year? I can't remember when I finished, maybe a year. The vest, I think, was the last time I used that fabric. So, good iron. Then I need to cut out, I have decided that I am going to interface all of the pieces because it will make it easier to sew the jacket precisely, because I'll cut the interfacing to the size of the pattern. The patterns don't have any seam allowance, and then cut all of the pieces bigger than that. So that should mean I can sew everything like on the interfacing line. Should make everything accurate, which is good. Now, I think what I'm going to do, so I'll assemble the chest pieces, and so, because there's like multiple swishes, assemble all the swishes, but just sew them like, you know, really loosely in a long stitch, and then do the fitting. So then I'm going to fit it, I think. Then, after I've fitted it, I will unpick it and I'll mark all the lines, unpick it again, as you do. Ooh, what the heck? And then decide where this purple piping is going. Because do I put this in every seam? Do I put this in some of the seams? Do I just outline the soutache sections in this? Like, where does this go? How much of it can I use? Should I use? Should I use all of it? We'll see. So that's as we go. But obviously, it's very hard to fit things accurately if you've got piping in the way. So yeah, so I'm going to kind of half sew it together, work it all out, unpick it, then make some permanent decisions. Must not forget the little coin pockets to go like on those seams there. What else? I think I'm going to do something tricky. So the side pieces should meet here. So I think what I'm going to do is, if I put the piping through, I want it in a continuous band across the whole side, which means I'm making it more difficult for myself by doing that. I'm just sort of thinking ahead for problems that I can see occurring. I need to work out how I actually fasten the jacket, because I want like a real neat, seamless kind of look down the front. I don't think I want buttons, but if I want buttons, I want like a button and then like some soutache and then like a button on the other side to hold it together. But I actually think I would prefer like hooks and invisible hooks and eyes. But then also I need to work out, well, do I need some sort of panel underneath so it doesn't look weird when I sit down and my shirt underneath like spills through the gap? thinking about these things. But if I have a panel underneath, how does the jacket look when it's undone? Because it's not going to be done up all of the time. These are all the things my brain thinks about. Do I want to invent some sort of tricky new fastening process? Maybe, because I've already thought about that. I need a waist tape is one thing I do want to put into the jacket, which is something that historic fitted jackets had, but I think would work really well for this, because I am planning to have it be fairly fitted, because I don't plan to wear this with a corset most of the time, but sometimes yes. So I need to think about that as well. The sleeves. Do I need cuffs? Like button cuffs? Can I get away with some sort of tricky like overlap thing? Can I put like a little bit of like kind of stretch drill in here so I can slip my hand through without needing to worry about that? How do I attach the soutache sections to the outside of the wrist? How much puff do I need in the top of the sleeve? Have I even designed the sleeves in a way that I can get a sufficient amount, but not too much, puff in the top section, considering that I've got great big soutache bands here and here? Do I have a split down the middle of the sleeve and the back in order to sew the whole thing together more easily, but then I add an extra seam line? Can you see? All of these decisions are yet to be made, because these are the things that happen when you design your own pattern. I mean, I love designing my own patterns, but, and for that matter, my brain very much enjoys all of these subsequent steps of working all this stuff out. It loves it when it goes right. And hopefully it'll go okay. Have I spent sleepless nights already thinking about how it fits together and where I'll put a sewing thing? And yes, quite a bit. So anyway, so this is the plan. We're going to try and do these things. We're going to see how we go. Yeah, first step, ironing, cutting out. Actually, no, I take it back. First step, clearing the crap off my sewing table so that I can get to the first step. Okay, so I have the front panels completely sewn together, possibly prematurely, and the back panels completely sewn together, because I decided to, the way I was going to do it, too complicated. So basically all of the panels are sewn in with all of their piping. So what have I discovered? I have discovered that there is something really weird going on with the pattern. Despite the fact I was so careful, something is like, I've had to pin the sides in this much past where the seam was, which is weird. So anyway, so this was folded over so it shows the pattern edge, as opposed to like an overlap for buttons, because I have decided this looks too good just to have buttons. We're gonna do some sort of tricky closure, I think. Okay, so, I mean, pretty, like, fits. I will say this patterning here, good, really good. This all fits. I haven't had to unpick this and adjust it or anything. One of these panels is wider than it needs to be, but I think I don't need to unpick it because I've had to bring the side seams in by so much. I've like skipped past that bit where I've mismeasured or missewn it, so that's okay. See this shoulder width here? I mean, that was meant to be hitting here. That was not meant to be hitting all the way. There's a giant hem on this that still needs to come in, but it was meant to be sitting a lot further in, so I don't know what I've done. The bust isn't, like if I just, basically I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it fastened just below the bust, because while I did allow more room, as you can see, this is not going to close here. Also, maybe a little bit of, I think I would just need to maybe take that spot in a little bit on each side as well. I think part of the problem is because there's such a wide hem here, it is sitting a little strangely. Once the sleeves are on, that should be better, but I may need to take that in a teeny bit, but we'll see. Now, on the back, it's not bad. I kind of need to take in just there. I put a seam down the back panel because I didn't know if I was going to put piping down the middle, which I didn't. But the seam is helpful because I can do more adjustments there. And on the sides, I've still got like room here, but I think that's okay. I think the flip is good and the shape is good. So I think I will not take it in so much that it actually sits on the hips, but still has a bit of a kick. So lengthwise, I'm not sure actually. Probably I might, yeah, I don't know. I might leave the full length. I might leave the full length. Probably full length at the back, definitely. And I don't know, maybe reduce it over the hips. We'll see. We'll see. That's to come. So in general, coming together nicely. Here it is. So next step is to, oh, actually, and there at the back of the shoulder, you can sort of see, I've tried pulling up the back and pinning the shoulder in, sort of pulling up. That's taken a little bit of the gaping out, but I might need to adjust. You can see that there, a bit of a gape. I might need to adjust that as well. So there's the, oh, it's really, really disgustingly hot and humid today in Sydney. And I am sweltering. Okay, so there's the collar, which has to go on somehow. And I've got decorative panels to go on here as well. So, yeah, it's a thing. I think it's good. So I've also got, so these are the extra arm panels. I don't know which way around these go. So the triangle will fill in the top, obviously. So, but one thing I need to keep in mind is if I'm going to muck around with how this fits here, like how wide that panel is, then I need to make sure that this fits. And I have to say, I am not 100% sure about the extra soutache panels on the sleeves. I am thinking about possibly replace. I have not decided yet. I'll sew them in, see what I think. But I am thinking about just cutting out chevrons plain, still using the piping between the chevrons, but just having the chevrons on the shoulders. I'll see. I'm just sort of, is it too much? It's kind of, because basically every internal seam now is going to have the piping just about. Are we getting, like, is it too over the top now? We'll see. Oh, okay. I gotta take this off. It is very hot, and yeah, I need to sew the side seams and then see what happens next. I've got to line all this as well. Oh, this is going to be such a warm jacket. Hullo. Okay, so this project, I mean, it is not surprising that it is going slowly and in a complicated way that's proving to be quite tricky in aspects. absolutely unsurprising. It's probably the most complicated project I have ever made. But we have a collar that had to be redone 4 times, and it looks good. Ultimately decided to go with purple on the inside, which I think pops nicely. And then we've got twill for this section because it's stronger. This is very weird. It's very crinkly. I'm not sure I like it, but we're going ahead. It is cotton, but we're going ahead with it for lining. But yeah, so I think we're gonna, if it's in a visible section, it does need to be small because it doesn't look great. Anyway, what else did we fix? There was like a weird kind of sticky out bit here on this seam, which I've managed to fix, and I feel very tricky, literally just by folding it up and top stitching it down here. I didn't need to take out much, so I will adjust the final pattern. It was basically like, just through that section, like 1/2 centimetre off either, basically 1/2 centimetre, sort of folded up onto the top section. That took care of it. I'm so happy. The top stitching obviously only works because the whole thing has got the piping, so I was lucky that way. But if I didn't have the piping, then I could have unpicked it and it wouldn't have been complicated. So, you know, either way. So the next step is to basically, I think, finish the inside. Well, at least the inside of like the chest piece as opposed to the sleeves. So there's a couple of bits of this. So one is, I don't know if you can see this here. So there's like, sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't. There's like a hollow here, which I think I need to put some padding in order for it just to sit cleanly. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes you can sort of see this. I mean, it's okay. I don't want it to be perfectly smooth with a whole bunch of padding. I think I just need a little bit sort of focused here, sort of where the hollow of my collarbone is, and then just sort of coming down a little bit. Now I do have literally a scrap. This is, I think, the kind of padding that you put inside like a quilt to have like texture, which I think should be fine because I think that makes it, I'm pretty sure it's cotton as well. So yeah, I'm just going to cut sort of, you know, like a small scoop and then a slightly larger one and then a slightly larger one. And then I can tack it all like to the facing so it won't show through to the outside. And I think that will be good. So that's probably the next step. And then I don't know what's next after that. So general steps that still have to happen. The sleeves, obviously. The lining, a waist tape, and the fastening. But also I don't know what order to do what in. The original plan, which I said earlier in the video, was that I wanted to flatline this, which then turned into fake flatlining it. In that flatlining, I would have had to have every single piece separate, which then would have been really awkward and it wouldn't have worked so well with like all of these separate pieces. If it was just darts, it would have been fine. So no, not flatlining. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I can just like have this side section as one piece and then this piece, and then I can sort of like stick them on the seams and sort of sew the seam down again, and that's kind of flatlining. Also no, past that stage, can't really do that either. So we're now up to bag lining pretty much. So I've cut out the lining, and now I just need to work out how I'm putting it in. I might still do like separate, like it's kind of like I can fully bag line it with the sleeves, or perhaps I just bag line the chest and then the sleeves are done separately, and then I just use some bias binding to like edge around where the sleeves meet. I'm leaning towards that direction because I think that will probably give an easier result. That will be, especially as I'm not, like the sleeves are going to need a bunch of work, I think. Like, oh, I really don't know, because it's like, as it is right now, this is too wide. Oh, that's my shirt, not the top. This is too wide, like it sits too far out for it to look Victorian. I mean, it looks great, like it'd be fine, but it sits too far out. So this is all going to need to get pinned in and cut quite a bit to bring the sleeve in so the sleeve pops. I don't know, does that work? How's that going to work? So the sleeves will be multiple stages. So probably I need to do the sleeves first, actually. Now that I've talked through that, thank you very much, I probably need to do the sleeves first. I might still kind of prep the body lining and check that it's all going to fit, sort of sew it together, but then not like sew it in, but just sort of get it ready so when the time comes I can just put it in. So the body lining is going to be the front and back pieces here. On the front, this whole front section is one piece all the way down. On the back, however, it's just to the sort of that high waist, and then the bottom section is a separate piece because there's too much curve for it just to sort of be darted into shape. And then I need to work out, because I think for the bottom hem is very curvy, so I can't just sort of fold and sew that down and then just like have the lining. I think probably the bottom is the actual bit that's sewn together, so to speak, and then the top is where I'm just going to be tacking in sort of the whole thing pretty much. So that means I also need to work out how I'm doing this bottom edge, because I think I probably don't want the purple going all the way to the edge. I think I need like a black border just on the inside and then the purple. So it's like, so do I just make the entire bottom sections in black, which I could do, and then the top sections are in, I don't know. So I need to think about this and work it out. I mean, I could even go to the extent of like just do the bottom sections in like twill, because I found I had a bit extra in the cupboard. So, and make the jacket like really structured. I don't think I need that on the, I don't think that would work for the back sections. I think they're better with a little bit of flow. The other thing I did was I tried on the whole Victorian thing and then put the jacket on, because I was afraid that the hip spring of with like a corset and a bum pad would mean that this sort of, how the jacket sits, so you can see it does sit, I've got a little bit of extra room here and here. I wanted to make sure that there was enough room with the extra hip spring with that, and that it all still sits nicely both with and without the corset, and it does. It looks great. The corset changes the bust shape. And this jacket is specifically designed to wear like not with the corset, because 90% of the time I'll be wearing it when I wear it without a corset, and perhaps 100% of the time possibly. But I think even with the corset it still looks fine, especially now that I fixed up this little side section. So it's coming together. Yeah, coming together okay. The sleeves, it's not just the puff to work out the top, I also got to work out the cuff and how I'm making it so it can still be quite narrow, but I can get my hand in. Whether I don't want buttons on this anywhere. I've decided, I think I need to work out how I'm doing like a closure. It might be okay to have buttons here, but I don't want any visible buttons at the front. It's just, this is cool, it looks awesome. And the one other thing I also finished off camera, because it was just more sewing, is we have the extra collar stuff with the ESO logo. God, I'm happy with that. Is finished. Can't get it to points, obviously, because the points are too sharp. So I think this is fine. And I'm absolutely going to have a problem with the sleeves. So this is going to have to sit up over the puffs, which could be odd. I don't know, we see how we go. Now the other thing I need is some way of holding this on. Originally I was going to have like little invisible hooks and things, which we might still do, but I am thinking about, I mean, there's an obvious opportunity for a tassel hanging at the back there. So I do need to buy some stuff for that. So in the past when I've made decorative tassels, I've used like either metallic or like some sort of pretty embroidery thread, which works quite well. So I'm going to see if I can get something that is, you know, either the bluer purple of the piping or the warmer purple of the soutache, or both. Maybe I can get something that combines both, and then make a tassel. Maybe, I think possibly the option, if I had a couple of tassels here and then like a little chain that clipped, that joined the two together. Oh, what if I had it? Ooh, now that is an option. I didn't want buttons, but maybe like a chain joining here? I don't know if the Victorians did that. I don't know if they did. That could be an option. I'm talking a lot in this part of the video. Sorry. It did strike me yesterday. That was like, oh, I mean, I want this historically themed, even if the techniques I'm using are not historically accurate. The vibe of the thing and the outside, I want it to look historic and, you know, appropriate for a Victorian era. And I was like, oh, wait, when did they invent piping? But it's fine, like something like 1840s. So piping's fine, as obviously as soutache, but so yeah, it is getting along, but it's sort of like I'm hitting like almost like not a wall as such, but I'm hitting like a point right now where I've got multiple difficult things to do and I'm not quite sure what order I should be doing them in, because it's possible that doing them in the wrong order will mean I stuff up another bit of the project. And so I'm like doing all the little things that can be done beforehand without like getting stuff done, which is also making this feel like it's going slow, even though it's not necessarily, because when I finally get to the stage of putting it all together, I should all just go bang, 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 because I've done the pre-steps. But yeah, you know, things like sewing this, because I don't know what step to do next. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, 3 main sections: sleeves, lining, and waist tape. That doesn't sound like a major thing, but the waist tape I think is going to be intimately involved with how the jacket fastens. So maybe I should say that instead. How I'm going to rig fastening this, which I've got some thoughts. They involve old brassiere hardware, which is obviously not historically accurate. But I'm not. Yeah, I want something that's not buttons. That means I can just go like this and just do it up without having to fiddle, or for that matter, if it's just hooks and eyes, putting this all under too much tension that I'm like, it gapes and it looks weird. So anyway, that's the plan. The next bit of the plan, it is coming together really nicely. It's looking amazing. I'm extremely happy with the progress. I'm happy with the fit, delighted even now that I fixed this bit up. I mean, it might change once I put the sleeves on. So yeah, we're getting there. Oh, it's so close. So very close to getting this done. Not yesterday, day before. Public holiday in Australia. I had nothing on. I sewed the whole day. Got a whole bunch of stuff done. Doesn't seem like I did, but I really, really did. So basically, the body of the coat is pretty much done. It's lined. The tricky sort of bottom section is all done. The tail sits properly. It's all, I had to kind of extend kind of the swoop, like the back flaps, so that when I was wearing it with all of the corset type stuff, it was like still covering. But that's done. I tried it on with the corset and all the rest to make sure that the cut was still popping over the hips. That was fine. So everything is sorted. The only bit I've not done of the main body is I haven't sewn in the top part of the lining. So basically it's all attached down here. That's all pressed, the whole thing. I left this free because I thought that would make it easier to put the sleeves in. Because I don't know the final shape of the arms eyes yet, I didn't want to like finish this and then have to cut away a bunch of stuff and then it'd be weird with the lining. So I figured sensible, just leave this, that way we can do it. And the very last step after the sleeves going in will be to actually fasten the waist tape like along here, like along like the, you know, like sew it like through like the stitchings and attach the whole thing. So I've left that free so that if I still need to, I can actually turn basically the whole thing inside out to access like all of the inner sections still. So yeah, we ready for the sleeves. Oh, and I went to a fabric shop and got some embroidery floss. That's the same color, the slightly bluer color of the piping, that I can make some tassels with. It's just cotton rather than satin. It was the best color match. So yeah, so I'll make some tassels for like the points at the front of the removable collar and at the back as well. So today, this morning, I have an hour or two, so we'll see how far we can get with the sleeves. Now, let me put this on inside out, I guess will be the easiest way. So I have basically assembled the sleeves. So the top section is sewn into the chevron, which is sewn into the sleeve, and the little decorative point on the cuff as well. This is just top stitched on rather than being like integrated into the actual sleeve. I figured that was the easiest for this one. These bits, however, yeah, are separate pattern pieces. You can sort of see all piped in on the inside with the embroidery. Now this is this way. So there's my sleeve. Now what I did discover was I took out too much volume along around the elbow. So this, I mean, there's enough hem here, but only just, enough seam, sorry, here through this elbow section, but only just. So I have double stitched that, so hopefully that'll be fine over time. But yeah, it's not too tight as I bend my arm, but it's not, yeah, it's I had to go right out to the seam allowance pretty much. I've also cut the sleeve linings as well. So yes, I have put the sleeve lining on inside this and bent my arm and gone, does this still work? And the answer is yes, just. But I'm quite pleased. I think it does give like Victorian vibes, but we'll see how the whole thing goes once we put actually the whole thing together. So the first step at this stage is the most important thing with the sleeve. Well, the first thing I have to make sure that happens is this matches the positioning of the piping here. The most important spot is at the top, obviously, because that's where it's going to be super visible. And then if I can, hopefully it might be the same further down. We'll see. The other thing I have to take into account is where the actual soutache comes from, or comes to. Like on the back here, it's coming, that's the front, whatever. It's coming right to the edge, like of the seam allowance. It's on this side, on the back it's okay. So I'll have to check the other sleeve later. So that is something that's important to take into account as well. So get the front section and the back section sorted. Then, however, whatever this diameter under the arm's eye is, oh, and that's going to be too big because I took like 1 centimeter out of that. Anyway, because it didn't fit. It was too wide. It was cut too big on the sides. I'm gonna, oh, I just thought of that. Hang on. I mean, I think it's fine. Like, you can see there's like, I think it'll be fine. There's like so much room here. Taking a centimetre out of there, oh, let me just pinch that. It's fine, it's fine. Okay, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Yeah, forgot that bit. Anyway, so I'll match here and here first, where the piping is. Then I'll match the underside and then just like sew out whatever the excess is from under the arm. Then once I sort those measurements out, I'll stitch basically from top piping to top piping flat. Then we'll take whatever's left on the top and take it into the top of the sleeve. Now, as a friend told me yesterday, you should baste that, and I was like, oh yeah, you can baste these things into position. So when I get to that stage, I'll baste it. I've already sewn in the gather lines. Am I gathering it? I don't know. I don't know. Gathering, of course, is a perfectly viable option, but also maybe like pleating it. Like having some sort of pleat arrangement might also look really cool. And this is fairly stiff now that it's been interfaced, so. And, on top of all of that, the other bit about all of this is I probably do actually, I'm going to just try it as it is first, but I probably do actually need to cut in the arm's eye as well, maybe by a good, oh, see, I can't get much out at the back. We'll have to see, because that's where the soutache comes to, like just inside the seam allowance. The front, I've got, no, even at the front. We might not have very Victorian shape on the shoulders. We'll see how we go. I can probably, from here across the top of the shoulder, I can probably lose a bit, but it's fine. It's going to look amazing. Even if the shape is not perfect, it's going to look like perfectly Victorian. It's going to look amazing. Even if the shoulders maybe teach broad, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Anyway, let's do some stuff. I gotta say, I am so pleased with how this worked out. My goodness me, this is the best thing and most complicated thing I have ever made. Like ever. More complicated than the corset. The fit was more important. Fit worked better. Just the lining, the construction, the decoration, the whole thing, so much more complicated than literally absolutely anything I've ever made, and I am really, really pleased with this jacket. Honestly, would I change anything? The fabric of the lining, it's very crinkly. That's maybe the only thing. That's it. I mean, you can't see it, so it's just the tiniest little niggle from, you know, that I'm aware of that nobody else is. But yeah, the fabric, the lining's not, it's like cotton, but it's just really crinkly, and it's fine though. Color is spot on. Yeah, look, just in general, I honestly cannot believe this worked. Like, getting a recognizable, maybe that's too dark to be seen there. Anyway, getting a recognizable Elder Scrolls Online logo in soutache, that was, I didn't think that was possible at all. Like, if I'd not been able to do that, I would not have considered this a failed project, because that was like something that I did not think was going to eventuate, and it did anyway. And oh my God, I think I'm just, gosh, I love this. Okay, so would I wear this out? If I was going to work or to a fancy dinner, like work in the city, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Will I wear this to some sort of Elder Scrolls Online themed thing? Absolutely. As long as it's not 30 degrees, which it is now, and I am so hot. Look, this is a autumn winter jacket, and it is not a summer jacket. So, but nonetheless, I'm like, it's great, it's wonderful. The sleeves, I decided to go with the pleats instead of gathering it, and I am happy with that, because I think it ties in with the rest of the jacket more effectively than if it was a gather. Also the fabric, because it's fully lined, like fully interfaced, it's quite stiff, so I think gathering it would have looked weird. So I'm really happy with the little box pleats. So they're great. The little extra tail is great. The fastening method I've got now, which is basically an old swimming bra clip, which is not historically accurate, not fantasy game accurate either, but it works. It just works, and it's fine. If I find something that's more suitable at some stage, sure, I'll replace that. The waist tape is working. Is there anything I would change? Look, there is one issue with the jacket, and that's that the shoulder cut is not Victorian enough. And the reason for that is that the soutache panels go too far out to the edge. Like, basically, these sleeve lines should be coming in probably like another 2 centimeters, like where this sleeve hits here, the sleeve head should be like another 2 centimeters in approximately. But because of where the soutache was hitting on these side panels, I couldn't do that. That's it. That's my only problem. I had to take out a big chunk out of the sides, and that was okay. And as I was re-watching some of the videos, I realized what happened was when I unpicked the calico mock-up, I didn't cut off the seam allowance on the side panels, which is where I got that thing. Ditto with the sleeves. I didn't cut off the seam allowance with the inside edge of the sleeves when I cut it out. So that's another thing too. Yeah, so the sleeves are fine, but only just, and I do need to modify the pattern to add more, like basically more sort of through the elbow. So I can still bend, and that's fine. I would be fine to wear a long sleeve top under here, but I wouldn't be able to wear like a jumper or anything else with this. I think then that would be too much bulk, and I wouldn't be able to get it on. So that's a downside. And there's not anything I can do about that either, because certainly the seam allowance in this part here, it was down to like 0.5 centimeter, and I was like going over it multiple times. So hopefully it stays nice and solid, and we'll be okay. Oh, that's right. I did not remember to measure how much piping I used in this. I will put it here when I work that out. Approximately 26 meters of soutache. Shout out to Reverse Garbage, link in the description, I guess, in Sydney, where I got these things for. The soutache was $4, and the entire giant roll, of which I still have a lot, of piping 8. The woman said, do you want it all, or I can just give you some of it by the meter? And I said, oh no, I'll take the lot. So do expect to be seeing more of this in future projects. For example, the skirt, the Victorian skirt I'm wearing that goes, it's in the same fabric. Maybe I will just unpick it and then add some extra sections and pipe it, because why not? So yeah, this project was a long, I mean, unsurprisingly, a very long project. So there's the pattern development, the dyeing of the soutache, the actual like cutting out of the pattern and putting the soutache on, and then the actual sewing of the jacket. So, and not just, I did break those up into multiple videos because I knew this whole project would, with how I can sew, just like squeezing it in amongst the other things I need to do with my life. This was going to take a long time. And just the sewing alone was like 20 hours, 30 hours. I don't know. I really should perhaps start running a timer for when I'm actually doing the sewing. So anyway, I made a thing and I am really super pleased with the thing. Actually, no, there is one other thing I changed. So this collar section, this is actually 2 sections. So there's a swoop here and then the collar comes in separately. And that is just the result of me not making a mock-up, because if I truly made a proper mock-up, I could have actually patterned this in one piece, and then that would have been a slightly cleaner look. But you can't tell unless I told somebody, they wouldn't know. So you know. But yeah, it's. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Next project. I don't know what the next project is, but hang on. From the aforementioned reverse garbage, I got some scraps of leather, but they're not really scraps. I got 2 pieces, one black and one a beautiful, really cool red, of like leather for, they were $8 each. I have to make something out of that. I am thinking about a handbag, honestly. I do make handbags, but just out of fabric, and I use them usually until they die. Haven't made one for a while, but I've never made one out of leather. I don't think that will be the next video, because I think that's a big project. Other things that I've got are some more lamp covering that I need to do, and also I have a gorgeous little vintage chair, which you've seen me sitting in actually in some of the videos, and it has a very lime green velvet cover. That needs to get recovered, so that will be a plan at some point as well. So yeah, no idea what comes next. I might even have a little break. There's enough videos ahead that yeah, I can take a little break before I work out what the next one is. But thank you so much for joining me here on YouTube. I appreciate it so much. Let me know what's the most complicated thing you've ever made in the comments. I would like to know. Now, you might be going, oh, my complicated thing is not as complicated as your complicated thing. And I do want to remind you, I have something like, oh, shivers. I was going to say 20 years of sewing experience, but actually it's 30 now. So 30 years almost, no, actually, yeah, about 30 years of sewing experience under my belt. So tell me what your most complicated thing is. And if you think it's not complicated enough, how long have you been sewing for? Would be a thing. So if you're a beginner, I still want to know what your most complicated thing is. If you're an expert and your expert thing is much fancier than this, I also want to know what your most complicated thing is that you've never made, or you've ever made, or that you've never made and you wish you could. Either way. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me here. You can also find me on my gaming channel, which is also in the, like, below somewhere, where I've got Elder Scrolls Online video type stuff. And if that's a vibe, you can find me at twitch.tv/ICYIC, where I stream the Elder Scrolls Online 4 days a week. We try and join the hobbies occasionally, very occasionally. We stick them together, and it's lovely. But you can find me on all the socials as well. Instagram, Threads, I'm on there a fair chunk. And Mastodon is lovely for sewing people. So if you're a sewing person looking for a very chill, relaxed, non-hassly kind of social place, Mastodon, do check it out. But thank you once again for joining me. It's lovely to see you all. I'm Icy, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.